I just texted me, my PI, deep breath, you brought this. Today is the day. We're getting ready to head out for my dissertation defense. Sam is here today. He took the day off work, which is so nice that I get to have him with me to support. You're looking pretty sharp. I guess you could do an outfit of the day as well. Let me move the camera so we can see you. Not so much. All right, let's do outfits. Dissertation edition. Let's see, coat, I got...
Sam Edelman.
Yeah, Sam Edelman. I think I ordered this from Nordstrom, if I'm not mistaken. Wonderful purchase. Undershirt is the same one that he wore for our engagement photos, which I did link on my Like to Know It, so I'll put that down in the description. But it's Banana Republic Factory. Pants, I think, are J. Crew. For Mimi. I'll start with the undershirt. This is one of those mock neck top from Target. You already know I got these in 3 colors. This skirt is Ann Taylor. This is a skirt that I wore for our engagement photo shoot, except now in the black version. Booties I got last year, actually right when we got engaged. I wore these that night. And I want to say I ordered these off of Nordstrom Rack. They're open edit, so they're a Nordstrom brand. This over thing that I'm wearing is vintage. I actually got this at a vintage shop in North Carolina a couple of years ago when we were out there for Sam's board exams. And I absolutely love it. I haven't had a special occasion to wear it for yet, and I thought this would be perfect. It does have shoulder pads, which is super fun. And it's just a fantastic vintage piece. Lastly, my earrings. I had mentioned on Instagram that I got these for myself as a gift to myself for getting my doctorate. They are, I'm blanking, what's it called? Who are my earrings from? Thank you. They're Dean Davidson, and this gemstone, which I'm also blanking on right now, I can't think of anything. It has like a lot of significant meaning, so I'll put that here for you on the screen, but I thought that they were perfect for this event. I can't think of what they're called right now.
Opal?
No, they're not an opal.
Sapphire? I don't know.
They're like a green. I'm having allergies. My throat's itching a bunch too. But anyway, it's like 10:30 and the dissertation starts at noon, so we're gonna go early and make sure all the technology is working properly. And I will check back in a bit. Happy Saturday. I am here to film a Q&A about my defense. I defended my dissertation on Tuesday and it went very well, and I asked you all over on Instagram if you had any questions for me, and you came through with questions. Usually I would film a Q&A over on my tiny office couch and it would be like more, I don't know, official or structured. But I need to get ready today because we're going to do our wedding registry today. We're doing it at Crate & Barrel, and then I'm also doing an online registry through Amazon. So we're going to Crate & Barrel today to pick out what we want on our wedding registry. I need to get ready for that. So that's what I'm going to do while I answer these questions. All right, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Where do I have them saved? I sprayed hairspray and I can like feel it all over my phone screen. I can't see when that happens. By the way, I got my hair cut on Thursday. It was nice to get a little refresh. First off, my sweet friend Kayla, how'd you make it look so effortless? So kind. I was so honored that day to have so many friends there supporting me, and I think that it really made all the difference. Sam could be there with me that day as well, and I think just having that social support of people that I know cared for me really helped. My undergraduate advisors also attended over Zoom and asked questions, and it was just the sweetest thing. So I think just having all the support in the world made all the difference for the event that day. Someone asked how long was it? Mine was 4 hours. It started at noon. I got there around 11 to like make sure technology was set up, and my sweet friend Mackenzie was there and they helped me get all of the stuff on point. I want to say that it probably ended around like 2:30 or something. I presented from 12 to 12:35, 12:40 I would assume. took questions from the audience. I would imagine it was then around, again, like, 12:55 or 1 when I met with the committee. I believe I met with the committee for around 45 minutes and then probably celebrated for like around 45 minutes. Of course, the whole thing went so quickly, and at the same time, I was so exhausted by the end. Really quickly, side point, I shared in my last vlog, which was my last week leading up to the defense, that I was breaking out. Sorry, I feel like I have hair on my nose. I wanted to say that if you are struggling with any breakouts, I've used this for years and it's just the best. I have a brand new one here because I was coming to the end, so I repurchased. It's just a good thing to have on hand. It's the Skin Clearing Blemish Concealer by Neutrogena. Blemish treatment with salicylic acid. Conceals and treats blemishes. I have it in the shade Buff 09, and I'm just about at the end of my old one, but it's just such a good thing to have on hand, and it really works well. I just have like a clogged pore right there. I'm just gonna let it sit there for a minute and then I will blend it out, but it really works well, and yeah, good thing to have on hand. How long was your talk? How many slides did you have? So like I said, 35 minutes, I would say, give or take, depending on, how fast I went through it. And then it was like over 400 slides. I have a very distinct way of presenting. I very much like tell a story and walk people through. I use a lot of visuals. I just do a separate slide for each effect. So that makes my presentations longer as well. So it's kind of hard to like make comparisons on how long mine was versus how long yours would be. I think that is one of our most valuable tools as presenters is our presentation deck, our slide deck. The way that you develop your slide deck can either help you in building your confidence and making you feel capable and prepared for the day, or it can hurt you. So I'll stop there. With that said, I do offer presentation development support to students. So if that is something you're interested in, I will leave a link down in the description. We can discuss what your goals are with your presentation, and I would be happy to help. Were there any difficult or nasty questions? How do you deal with them? No, I wouldn't say that anything was nasty at all. I felt like the committee was very supportive. I think in most cases, the committee knows how hard you have worked to get to that point, and it really is a celebration, and so you should try to go in with that mindset. It also, I think, is a time when the committee can point out any areas where they see that you might receive criticism from reviewers when you move forward with manuscript submission. So I would just have that in mind, that like if they are pointing out things about the work that maybe you've missed, you could be referencing different theory or whatever it may be, don't take it as like an attack on you. Take it as like, oh, okay, that's so valuable for when I am refining this to move forward with manuscript submission, or if I do hear that point from a reviewer, it won't come as a surprise. There were some difficult questions, and I think that a few people asked that. What was the hardest question asked? What types of questions were you asked during your closed door sessions? What types of questions related to method, data background, how does it work? Okay, yes. So there were a lot of questions, and I don't remember all of them. But I did make note of a couple that I found to be the most difficult. I tried to remember. So there were two questions that were asked toward the end by separate committee members, and that I made note of over the past couple days as I remembered them, because I definitely found them to be the most difficult. The first one was put together your master's and dissertation findings. So not all PhD programs have a master's that you earn along the way, but mine did. But no matter what, I think you will have had previous work that you've done prior to your dissertation, which may be more or less related to the dissertation. Mine sort of built on it in a sense. It was still map learning stuff with metacognitive components. I just changed different aspects of kind of what I was looking for, but that was a difficult question, and not necessarily one that I had reflected on prior, but I should have. I was still able to answer the question fine enough, but I think that it goes back to an idea that I got from someone else along the way, which was you should always have your story in mind. And I think it can help you to earn yourself a faculty position if that's what you're looking for. It can help you to explain your background when you're interviewing for jobs. Just always kind of have your story in mind. What is your story? How does what you have researched, what you have studied, how does what you have done tie together step by step into like sort of a clear and articulate story? And I think part of that question was kind of getting at that idea. So I would say to just take a little bit of time before your defense to, of course, reflect on your journey, how far you've come, and also how all of your work can kind of tie together. Sorry, I have a hair. How all of your work can kind of tie together into a clear narrative. Another question I got that was really difficult was, how should theories that you've referenced in the work potentially be changed or altered based on your findings, or should they not be? That was a difficult one as well, that I hadn't necessarily thought of, but I was able to kind of just reflect on what my findings are and sort of what my thoughts are on the pre-existing theories based on my findings. I don't know if I need to like get too far into it in this video because this is obviously super relevant to your specific area of research, right? But like, for instance, for me, I'm referencing a lot of metacognitive theories that have been developed based on verbal learning research. I have this spatial component of maps, and therefore my findings don't always perfectly align with those found with verbal learning materials like word pairs. Maps have a lot of other components on them, and even landmark names themselves are different than just verbal learning materials traditionally. Anyway, so for me, I talked about how findings from those theories are very context dependent, and if you change your outcome measure, you change your materials, whatever it may be, that can really influence your outcome. And one of my advisors added in that even just the scales that you use for collecting metacognitive judgments can impact the outcomes. So that was another one that was very difficult. Again, I think it is more of that bigger picture. So leading into more general questions of like, what types of questions were you asked? I would say they weren't super specific questions. I was concerned that I was going to be asked something specific about a design that was used in one of the papers that I had referenced, and then I wouldn't be able to remember it. I'm not the greatest at remembering names or years or specifics about designs. Again, partially because my research bridged different areas, very much so. So I was constantly having to juggle like two highly developed areas of research, but also just because I'm not that great with remembering names and things like that. So I was nervous about that. I didn't need to be. And my advisor had told me in the last week when I had said, you know, I feel like I should be rereading papers and like trying to remember things about designs. She said, don't. There's nothing more that you can do. And at a certain point, it's true. We just have to accept kind of the preparation that we have done so far and trust that it will get us where we need to be. Where is the eyeshadow that I'm looking for? Found it. I'm obsessed with this Bobbi Brown Longwear Cream Shadow Stick in the color Mulberry. I saw Laura Vitale using this, and I like immediately ordered it, which is very rare for me, especially with makeup. And I've absolutely loved it. I wore it for our engagement shoot, and it's just so good. I wore very minimal makeup for the defense. I didn't wear any eyeshadow, actually. Maybe I took bronzer through the crease. I don't know, but it's just so good. Okay. I'm thinking as I'm going through here that I'm just providing general insights. If there are specific things that you want me to go in more depth in, just comment and let me know. I've also considered maybe creating like a series of videos where I talk about dissertation defense preparation or something like that. I just don't know if that's what you all are looking for through this channel. I know I share things like that more so over on my Instagram, LaurenFindsAWay. So if you're looking for more resources that provide guidance on things like that, that would be a great place to go. But if you are also interested in having me do those types of videos here more, I would be definitely open to doing that. I just don't know if you all are looking for kind of vlogs of like my daily life here, or if that is something that you would like to see. So just comment down below and let me know. Other explanations for findings also was another thing that I was asked for quite a bit. And again, I think that it was useful in the context of thinking forward to manuscript submission. So just reiterating that point, like it doesn't need to be an attack. Of course, you need to do your best to try to come up with alternative explanations, but I think just having that openness to like improving the work is really valuable as well. And then I will say that if at any point you are asked a question and you really you can't think of an answer to that question, but you are suddenly reminded of something else, I think it's okay to say that, you know, one thing that makes me think of that's tangentially related that I would really like to share here today and I haven't shared yet is, and then you can share something. I did do that at one point, and it was pretty far into the defense process. So I had been going mentally for a minute and I blanked. I completely blanked out, completely lost what I was saying, what I was thinking about. Like it was a full-on blank out moment. That was for me like the pit of the defense. So thinking about like best and worst of the defense, Sam and I always do best and worst at the end of the night. Thinking for me about the worst part of the defense was that moment. It was just embarrassing to me because we're getting a PhD, right? Like in my sense, it's like my most powerful tool is my brain and my ability to think on my feet. And it was just embarrassing to like have a moment of weakness, but I've had to remind myself like this isn't about being perfect. It's okay to be vulnerable. Like we are humans, and PhD or not, that's true. So I went ahead and I kind of just said like closed my eyes and said like, you know, I'm trying to think about how to say this clearly, and probably said a few times. And I don't know if I said or not that I was blanking out in the moment, but I just gave myself a moment and then it came back. I got the thought back and I was able to run with that. So, yeah, I just wanted to share that because it happens to us all and it's okay. I was able to continue forward. Like I said, remember the thought eventually after giving myself a moment. And in retrospect, as I've reflected, I think I was just tired. I think it was just my brain saying like, okay, enough is enough. Like I said, that was toward the end of the defense, which is why I kind of used that card of saying like, one thing it makes me think of that I haven't been able to share yet today and would really like to is this thing. So have some things in mind, you know, some bigger overarching points, again, those broader takeaways that you want to share with them. Like have an idea of things like kind of your discussion points, right? Things that maybe you don't explicitly say in the presentation, but stuff that you would really like to make sure you share before leaving. I was gonna put on eyeliner, but I forgot, so oh well. No eyeliner today. So many of you have just said congrats, so I really appreciate that. How active was your PI during the defense prep? My primary advisor I met with weekly. We've always met weekly for like as long as I can remember. I would say like most of it was pretty independent. Like she was always there for support if I needed something, or if, you know, I wanted to ask her like her thoughts on what would an alternative explanation be, or her thoughts on why we didn't find memory differences in experiments 1 and 2, right? But like I did all of my analyses myself. I was able to pass them along to her, and her previous advisor from when she was in school would take a look at them and just, you know, make sure everything made sense, looked right. But I'm also at the point where like there were times when maybe we didn't totally agree on something with the analyses or the approach, and like I was able to kind of justify why I was doing something, and if I felt it was the right thing, just like going with it. So yeah, I feel like at this stage for me anyway, a lot of it was really independent. I did one slide run through for her before I presented in a different lab. And so she gave like feedback on anything she thought that I could add to the slides. But again, at this stage, it was like kind of, we were wrapping that process up a little bit. So yeah. How'd you calm yourself on the day before the defense? Any particular advice? Definitely. I would say that I started processing emotions like 10 days to a week prior. You saw in my vlog before the defense that I was very emotional, processing a lot of emotions. I think it's good to let yourself do that. I'll be right back. I'm gonna grab my lipstick. Okay. I hope you haven't been crooked the whole time. I feel like I'm just noticing that the camera's kind of crooked. So I think it's good. Give me 1 second, Sam's calling. Hi, honey. Okay, sounds good. Bye. So I think it's good to let yourself process those emotions, to kind of play an active part in reflection over everything you've been through and really letting that set in. For me, prayer plays a really big part as well. So just having faith in something, whether it's yourself or a higher power or everything in between, just trying to have faith in the process, trusting that it will all work out. On the day of, diaphragmatic breathing, breathing slowly in your stomach, trying to smile if you can remember to do that, reminding yourself that you are safe. Right when I started, when it was like finally time for me to begin, I seriously thought I was going to faint. And so just kind of like pushing yourself through those moments. You've got this, it will be okay. Another thing that can really help if you struggle a lot with nervousness about like public speaking, big events like this, is to create a gratitude list that morning beforehand. Simply list things on a piece of paper that you are grateful for. Do it in your notes on your phone. A lot of times for me, it's like sunshine, friendship, support, faith, God, clean drinking water. Like, it can be really simple, but just taking the time to kind of reflect on those things that you're grateful for can help shift the mindset. And then also you can use imagery. So again, in like the days, weeks, months, whatever it is leading up to the event, you can imagine yourself doing it. Imagine it going well. Imagine yourself feeling clear-headed and capable and enjoying the experience. In the moment, I really tried to be present. 35 minutes of speaking without interruptions, you can mind water sometimes. And I tried to make it a point to be really present in the moment and just like soak it up, which was something that was suggested to me by others. I was nervous that I would get emotional on the day of the defense, but I quickly realized and remembered that you're so exhausted after you give that presentation and you answer the questions that it's like, for me, I couldn't get emotional even if I wanted to, because it's just, you're so exhausted. When they came out and said, like, you know, announcing Dr. Mason or whatever it is that they even said, I barely even remember. Like, it's like hazy. I barely even remember the moment. It's like it was all in slow motion and I was just so exhausted. When I came out of the room, when they sent me away so the committee could discuss, and then everyone who was there was like sitting outside waiting, I had completely forgotten that people were even there, because it's just the Q&A with the committee is so all consuming. So yeah, I don't know. I don't even know where I'm going with that, but that's how it felt. I think that was actually one of the questions, was like, how did you feel? What emotions were coming up for you before, during, and after? Congratulations, Doc. Yeah, so before, I really outlined, I think, in that week before video. And then during, like I said, I tried to kind of be present. Of course, there was nervousness. But then once I started and I was like in it, I really didn't feel very nervous anymore. I did prepare as far as practicing giving the presentation. I did do several run-throughs. I did them for both of my labs. I did them myself at home. So feel comfortable with your presentation. I think that that makes a huge difference. Feel confident in it. I'm telling you, I think that that makes like all the difference in the world. I'm trying to think about anything else. I would say after, I felt exhausted. We just did takeout and watch trash TV that night, which was so lovely. I didn't want to do anything big to celebrate that day. I think in the coming weeks or months, whatever, we'll probably plan like some sort of dinner or get together with others to celebrate. But it was nice to just have it be really simple. That's just what I wanted at this stage. So And then I'm in the postdoc, so I have been working, but I've been doing my best to take it kind of slow. And, you know, I do think I need some more rest. And I think that will come. But I will say that leading up to the event, just like the prospect of being doctor finally, it felt like so emotional and just, I don't know. But then it's funny because after, when you actually are, it's like that day I felt like I don't own that title. I don't know. Like, I think it's going to take time for it to really set in, the meaning of it. But yeah, I'm very thankful for all of the support that I have received, all of your comments, and just incredible messages that have brought tears to my eyes. I shared that the other day on Instagram. Just so many nice things that you have all said about how me sharing has helped you. And I really want nothing more. I think that a legacy is an important thing to me. It's something that I value, like how I will be remembered one day is important. And the impact, like the little bit that I leave in this world, matters to me. And simply having a PhD or having manuscripts, it just wasn't enough for me. I really wanted to feel like I was having an impact in some positive way on the world. And I hope that by sharing my experiences through Lauren Finds a Way, that it has helped some of you, because that matters more to me than anything else. So I think I'm going to stop there. I am happy to answer more questions. Feel free to leave them down in the comments. I'm happy to make more videos talking about all of this in more detail, whether it be developing that presentation that you can be proud of, or how to handle the Q&A with more specifics, or how to handle when you don't know the answer to a question in the moment, writing the dissertation, all of the things. So just let me know what you'd like to see from me. I am going to put on a little bit of a coat. It's supposed to be a bit warmer here today, actually. But high of 70, low of 37, currently 47 degrees. So I'm going to put on some layers, and we're gonna head out to go do our wedding registry. A quick little outfit of the day. I have on these large knockout studs from Dean Davidson. At first I was like, oh gosh, are they too big? But I kind of wanted it to be obvious that they weren't real diamonds. So I feel like this size, it's like clear that they're not, and I actually think they're really fun. I've been wearing them nonstop. So comfortable. This is an Amazon scarf. This too, when I first got it, I wasn't sure, but I've worn it every day since. It's two-toned, which I love. This is an old faux leather that I got from Nordstrom. It's Blink NYC brand. I'm sure they have something similar that I can link. Also an old dress from Amazon. This was like one of those Skims lookalikes, if you will. And then shoes I have worn also like nonstop since I got them, were these for our engagement shoot. I'm gonna do a video soon where I talk about like recent product item favorites. Like this scarf would be in there. Also, I've been using a new nail polish that makes doing your nails yourself so much easier. So yeah, I want to do a video like that soon.